back with a new video. Happy New Year. Obviously, the best way to start out 2022 is by doing a pattern from the 80s. That's right, I'm going to be doing an 80s dress this week. Spoilers, it's this fabric right here. So the 80s, wild time to be alive. Everything was high contrast, high saturation. It was wild. I wasn't around, but that's okay. What inspired the 80s look today, though, is that every themed era party I hear of or know of or ever gone to is always 80s themed, and I don't own any 80s things. So I thought, you know what? I need to remedy that. I need to have an 80s costume that I am proud to say that I did not live in the 80s, but it is authentically 80s. But it feels like I did. Normally, when I'm making a project, I actually go with a pattern first, and then I will get fabric for it, or if I have the fabric lying around, I'll figure out a way to piecemeal it into the pattern I want to make. But this time, I went for the fabric first. Here it is right here, also right here. I actually had this fabric made for me. I got it from Spoonflower, where they do all custom-made printed fabric, because I wanted a very specific look in mind. I wanted it to be, even if you don't recognize the shape of the dress as being 80s, once you see it, you're like, whoa, that's an 80s dress. And I absolutely love this. It actually reminds me of Rugrats, which, you know, that's early 90s, but still. The pattern I'm going to be making with this beautiful fabric is the McCall's 9040. It was printed in 1985. Nope, that is a lie. It was printed in 1984. I chose this pattern specifically because, you know me, I love big poofy sleeves, and I felt like it was very similar to the kind of fashions I like, because you can cinch it in at the waist. I think what will play heavily, though, in really selling it as an 80s costume is the accessories, so we'll probably raid my mother's closet. So look forward to that. Well, I think I have everything I need, so let us begin. As my fabric is not wide enough, and at the time I didn't have the mental fortitude to realize I could just unfold the fabric and cut it all individually. So instead, I'm actually layering them on top of each other and ironing out where the fold is, and then I'm just going to piecemeal these pieces because I like to make more work for myself. After that, I work on the sleeves, which the piece doesn't need to be folded. However, I decided to fold it anyway because, again, I like to make more work for myself. And because I still can't be bothered to unfold my fabric, I'm going to cut the belt on the fold as well. This doesn't matter too much anyhow because the belt isn't long enough to go around my waist, so I'm going to need to add an extension anyway. And with that out of the way, I go back with my big pieces and cut out those corners that I had folded over earlier so I can sew them back on later. Fortunately, this is a really busy print, so I don't have to be as concerning about getting the patterns to match up. And with just this little sliver remaining, I'm able to squeeze out the pockets and then the neckbands. And now I'm ready to get to sewing. Next, I get started by sewing the little bits to the big bits until they make even bigger bits. After that, I fold over the side that's going to have the buttons and the buttonholes, and then I top stitch that down. I do 2 rows because I find that aesthetically pleasing. After that, I speed run the collar band, like I snorted my coffee this morning. And last, I prep my pockets by finishing off the top edge of the pocket. Then I fold them over and then tack down that edge. Finally, I sew the front pieces to the back piece. And because I enjoy a challenge, I sewed up my sleeve elastic into a band, and then I shoved all the sleeve fabric underneath my needle and let Jesus take the wheel for a moment. Wait, no, wait. Yes, success! And because I don't believe in cohesive order, I do the top stitching to both the pockets right now. 2 lines, just how I like it. With that brief sponsored break over, I can get back to doing these sleeves. Remember, misery loves company, so always do your mistakes in 2s. Finally, we can get on to sewing the pockets on top of the front. This wasn't a struggle either. And finally I get to the belt, which is so easy it makes me feel like I'm on holiday. And lastly, I sew the front panels to the back panels. I realize I said that earlier, but I definitely know that this is the front because the small thingies are visible. I have no idea what I said that I had sewn earlier. Oh! it was the sleeves. I did the sleeves earlier. And once I finished with that, I put the whole thing in somewhere safe while I switch out my sewing machine for my serger, so I can get to the fun part of finishing off the edges and hiding that really terrible cut job someone did. And while I'm at it, I will finish off the hemline so you can't see how trash I am at aligning fabric. Finally, I sew what I think is the shoulder seams, only 2 relays immediately afterwards that I forgot to put on the sleeves, and we'll have to go over this bit again to get to the raw edge of the sleeve. But to hide my humiliation, I did all that off camera, so we're going to call it movie magic. And we're going to move right on to the try-on phase. I'm not feeling very bodacious in this grody cassock. Definitely not tubular, but then I remembered I have a belt. Totally tubular, man. Definitely like how baggy the sleeves are. Additionally, what I really like about big baggy sleeves is you can't see my hairy pits. And because I am prone to losing my belt if it's not attached to my body, I'm adding belt loops to the sides. There we go. Next, I need 9 buttons. I decided to make my own buttons using various parts that I really like from the fabric. I saw this on TikTok once, so I'm going to give it a try. Huzzah! It worked. And because I'm a completionist, I am going to be making a matching mask, and I'm using leftover cotton scrap for the lining. Radical. I was planning to do top stitch like I did with everything else on the machine, but I love me a good Netflix and chill with my sewing projects. I decided to buy a makeup palette so I can really sell the 80s look, and I picked up this cute Fruity Kitty palette. It's got all these fun rainbow colors, and I thought that would be great, but then I realized it was $25, so I quickly walked away. Instead, I picked up something that was more in my price range. Next, I went to the internet for advice, and I looked up 80s ads. Based on my research, it looks like I can either do a bright blue or a bright pink and just slather on eyeshadow, along with extra bright blush everywhere, and maybe a lipstick. I even asked my mother for advice, and the first thing she said was lots of bright eyeshadow, either blue or pink, so I think I'm on the right track here. There you have it, my 80s dress is done. I feel like I'm ready to go party. I actually really like this dress. I was, apprehensive about it because it's definitely out there as opposed to what I normally wear, but you know what? We grow, we learn, we try new things, we get into new stuff. Although I will be frank, this is a lot of makeup on my face, and I'm definitely not digging how... When I do look in the mirror, I'm like, who is that? Oh, it's me! I have surprised myself by the fact that I really like this dress. Does that mean I'll put it in my wardrobe for regular use? No. But, is this the dress I'm gonna go to every time I'm invited to an 80s themed party? Heck yes. This is gonna be my go-to outfit. And it's also a great costume party outfit if I don't have anything prepared to go. As far as things I would do differently, I would probably unfold the fabric and do each piece individual, because now I got this double feature going on right here. I'm not mad about it or anything, but I think I would like a little more randomness as opposed to the patterns being like on top of each other. But for a costume, it's fine. And then I'll probably do like a seam binding or a bias tape from the top of my shoulder to my elbow, because these are kind of loose. I could always tighten up the elastic, but they're already kind of scratchy to begin with, because this fabric's kind of scratchy. It's really good for ASMR. Does that sound good? Aside from that though, I really like this piece. I definitely don't normally go for the 80s look. It's not really my aesthetic. But next video, I'm going for an aesthetic that I absolutely love, that I also don't do very often. And that's gonna be the early Edwardian era. So if you're interested in that video, you know, subscribe if you want, or follow me on Instagram where I post sneak peeks of each video coming up a few days before. And that's all I got. And until next time, have a good day. Bye. Today I'm going to use this McCall's... I wasn't around, but I've seen the pictures and I'm sort of glad that I'm more of a 90s kid. This is a lot of makeup.